watching Numbskull News, and today we're doing a horns down broadcast. How embarrassing that one of the most powerful institutions on the planet Earth gets their little feelers hurt. Get their little feelers hurt from UCF. But that's neither here nor there. That's not what this video is about. This video is about the Longhorns and the Sooners going to the SEC and what that's going to mean in the future for the SEC. The Longhorns, University of Texas in Austin, they are going to run that show in the SEC. Now, not right away. Calm down, SEC fans. Not right away. It's going to be gradual. Gradually, they will take power. Now, I know you don't believe this. I know you don't. But let's take a look at Alabama. That's been the most powerful program in all of college sports the last few years. What was that predicated on? That was predicated on Nick Saban and having the greatest dynasty of all time in college sports, or at least college football. He's the GOAT, greatest college coach ever. And some people would argue the greatest football coach ever. I won't go that far, but it's not out of the question. It's not like he's not in the conversation. Nick Saban definitely is. But he's gone now. And if you haven't noticed, a ton of Alabama talent has hit that portal. They're out of here. Decommitments. Everything is happening. And, look, that's nothing against Kalen DeBoer, who took the job. Alabama's power is based on their winning. Right now, winning doesn't seem, at least at a high level, doesn't seem all that probable going into 2024 season. But that's not the issue. The issue is, the SEC. The SEC is a powerful conference like Alabama has been. And that is also predicated on winning on the football field, the gridiron, in which the SEC has been dominant the last 20 years. Dominant. A lot of that is because of Nick Saban. The tide could be turning on that. Those kind of things are cyclical. All the winning, the dominating. The Big Ten has something to say about that. With the brands they have, Michigan is now the national champion. You got plenty of universities in the Big Ten that can win titles. And by the way, their power, they're even richer than the SEC. Their stroke isn't based on winning. It's based on huge legacy brands and giant fan bases. And not to mention huge markets that they have entered into over the last decade plus. And that brings me to the University of Texas. They have won national titles. They are, they're definitely a blue blood, a legacy brand. They've been around forever. But it's not predicated on having dynasties or this, winning titles every other year. They don't. I mean, last year they made the playoffs for the first time since in the playoff era. And that's the best season they've had in roughly 15 years. All right, that's a normal circumstance for Alabama. It's a pretty normal circumstance for Georgia to have the kind of season that they've had. And every so often, LSU climbs that ladder. We know how it works in the SEC. But with the Longhorns, it's based off of something that's not cyclical. All right, winning is cyclical. There's times you're going to be up and times you're going to be down. And that's going to be true for the conference in total. Now, Texas, they're based on something quite a bit similar to the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, even though they haven't won jack in 30 years, going on 30 years now, their brand is the biggest sports brand in the world. The richest, the most well-known. It's global. Now, I won't say that the University of Texas Longhorns are a global brand, but as far as a collegiate brand, it really doesn't get much bigger. Maybe Notre Dame. And like I said, that's not predicated on a shit ton of winning. They know how to market themselves. They're business savvy. This is a political force and an extremely rich university based off of old money and new money. You go from the oil field to the tech space with Texas. They got it all covered. They are an absolute collegiate juggernaut. That's what you're bringing into the SEC. This is a force that you have not seen before in the SEC. All apologies to Alabama or to Georgia or to LSU or Florida or Tennessee or any other great brands the SEC enjoys. Nothing against those guys. This is the University of Texas. This is something a little different. And not to mention they have another blue blood brand they're bringing with them that has their back on just about everything, and that is the Oklahoma Sooners. A powerful brand within itself. And think about it. There have been programs throughout the years in the Big 12 that could not stand against Texas. Nebraska, Missouri, A&M, Colorado. And these were great brands with huge fan bases, very rich universities, but they couldn't they couldn't stem the tide of this political force of the Longhorns. So they went to other conferences. Now Texas is coming into the SEC. And you can see it. You can see an Alabama downturn coming. Nick Saban's gone. The great one is gone. Caleb DeBoer, really good coach. He ain't Nick Saban. No one is. Y'all are going to really miss that guy. But every year that he's gone, the power and influence of Alabama starts to wane. And trust me, Texas will keep drawing it in. And by the way, I'm not saying you're not going to be able to get along with Texas on a lot of things. I'm sure you will. From what I understand, the SEC is not really big on adding a ton of teams in the future, expanding much beyond the 16 teams that they're currently at. Texas and OU, they don't like expansion. They don't like to do that. They don't like to slice up the pie where they're at. It was always a problem in the Big 12. Hey, why didn't the Big 12 add this team or that team in the past? Ask Texas, ask OU. They want the majority of the money to themselves. They don't like to share it. Okay? Understanding they're coming into something in the SEC, which has been established. One of the richest conferences now in the football world. And that's fine. Texas will acquiesce at first to a lot of the things that the SEC want to do. They'll go along to get along. They'll be a good player. They'll fit right in. But sooner or later, people are going to feel that power and that influence that they have. They have a lot of people within the halls of ESPN already. Remember, the Longhorn Network was an ESPN exclusive network. They know what it is to work with those people. With ESPN being the sole provider for the media rights of the SEC, that's what you're bringing in. All I'm saying, I'm not saying it's not a great ad or any of that, but sooner or later, Texas is going to be the biggest voice in that room. It's going to happen, people. And it doesn't matter how much they win. It's not going to matter. Because when they step into the room, they're the richest university in that room in the SEC as soon as they get there. People, there's a reason the SEC next year is going to have their media days in DFW. They want the higher ups in the SEC want to ingratiate themselves to Texas and to Oklahoma. They know the power of that unit. They know the power of that particular voting block. They don't want to piss them off. They know what they can gain by having those two in the conference. It's rich now in the SEC. Everyone's about to get richer because of Texas and because of Oklahoma. Believe me, what they bring to the table is more than most in the SEC can bring to the table. And that includes a rich university like A&M. That includes universities like Florida and Tennessee, Mizzou, Arkansas, South Carolina, even LSU, the mighty LSU. They don't have the resources, the wealth. They don't have the connections that Texas and OU have. My God, they are going to lift the value of that whole thing. And that tide will float all the boats. And the more you enjoy the wealth they bring into the SEC, the more dependent you become upon it. And I know it's like I'm speaking hyperbole, like I'm reading out of a Tolkien book. Okay, I get it, but the shit is true. All right, it just is. They're the dark force in Texas coming in, and they will rule that roost, and it'll be sooner rather than later. 3, 5, 7 years down the road, you're going to read a story. The SEC decided to make a move. And when they make the move, then the story why the move was made will come afterwards. And what you're going to find out is, hey, that's what Texas wanted to happen. And everybody went along. Okay, well, hey, if that's what they want, cool. Hey, they're helping us make a lot of money. We've already made a lot of money. We didn't need Texas and OU to be rich. We were already rich, but man, our stock went up. This was the same thing with the NFL. The NFL was already a cash cow when Jerry Jones bought the Dallas Cowboys. But they got a whole lot richer when he showed them the way to really make some money. I'm not saying there aren't smart people in the SEC. I'm not saying they're not already taking advantage of many different revenue streams. Texas and Oklahoma know how to open that up even wider. They know how to bring in even more. That's all I'm saying. These guys have proven it. They have proven track records of creating wealth. Now in the SEC, they'll be more apt to share that wealth. Now in the Big 12, no. They were about pulling it in for themselves. And if some of that rising tide kind of lifted a few boats, cool. They didn't care. It was about them. In the SEC, they'll play nice. All right. They're not looking to lord over everything right away. They're not stupid. They're going to be cool with everybody for a while. All right. But little by little, that influence is going to build. And sooner or later, before anyone knows it, they're going to be the lead dog. That's how it's going to work. Now, I'm not saying that's going to cause the SEC to go into a tailspin and die a death here. Not calling it like that. But like it or not, life's going to change a little bit in the SEC with Texas and Oklahoma. These are gargantuan programs and universities. A lot of power, a lot of prestige, a lot of politics coming in. What does all that mean? Who knows? Who knows? But it's coming for you. I just wanted to give a reminder. Now that the Texas and OU have played their last football games in the Big 12, and this year they're going to wrap up the last of their basketball games and whatever other sports. And then in the summer, they'll switch to the SEC. So, I just want to let y'all know, be forewarned, the SEC conference is going to change. It's going to change. I couldn't predict how many different ways it's going to change, but it will change. And your new leadership has just joined the conference. As I said, they won't take the reins right away, but the reins will be coming their way. They will take them over. They'll do it politely. They'll do it with a smile and a little tip to the cap. They'll do it respectfully. They'll always listen to the leadership at Alabama and Georgia and LSU and all the other great universities within the SEC. But believe you me, the power and sway that they have is going to be felt even in that conference. It's coming. And decisions, when it does happen, believe me, decisions are not going to be made in the SEC that they don't like. Decisions will only be made to the ones that they feel is good for them. And by proxy, good for you. See how that works? And I know you don't believe it. You don't have to. You don't have to believe. Why do you think A&M didn't want them in there? They've been there. They've done that. They know what that is. They know what Texas is. But there'll be a lot of things to enjoy. Further wealth. Further stabilization. Yeah. It's going to be fine. Especially for the Arkansas of the world. The smaller brands. Be just fine. But don't ask them for a loan. Don't ask them for a favor. And maybe you'll get one, but trust me, it'll be high interest. Anyway, thanks for watching this crap, and I'll be back with some other crap later. Bye, and good luck, SEC fans.